where is she? Where is the sustainer of heavenly principles, the unknown god? Because if you've played up to 4.2, you will already know that the Hydro Dragon sovereign descendant, Nubilet, inherited the role of Lord and Protector of Fontaine. The Hydro Archon destroyed herself and the very idea of a Hydro Archon and restored power to its rightful place, the Dragon Sovereign. But this isn't part of the deal. This is against the rules. You can't just go and promote your own successor, not under Celestia's watch, because we've seen what happens to people who defy her. King Deshert, Orobashi, Injuria, the original Hydro Archon, Conria. When you defy the heavenly principles, we can see what happens, as Raiden Shogun states.
But I've seen a nation stride forward and lose everything to the heavenly principles. Perhaps only if time stands still will the lightning's glow never fade.
So why hasn't she done anything? Because right now, Gnosises are getting snatched left and right by the Fatui Harbingers. The Saritz is pretty much an open rebellion. Morax is allegedly dead. The Hydro Archon just demoted herself and promoted someone in her place without your permission, and you got people running amok. So where is she? Well, there's two possibilities. The first being she can't do anything, and the second, she's choosing not to. Both are likely. Let's talk about them. This is somewhat of a two-part video, as I want to talk more in depth about the Gnosis and the Fatui Harbinger's overall goal in the next video that's going to sort of relate to this one. But as of right now, why isn't she intervening? Well, let's talk about option number one. She can't. She can't because she's very badly injured or corrupted. And I think it has everything to do with these unknown beings from other planets. How could it not? Because we know Rhindaughter from Conria experimented and unleashed a bunch of different monsters and entities that are not from Teyvat. We know Descenders are not from Teyvat. And we know that gods, for the most part, are not immortal. They're just regular beings that ascended into godhood. And Descenders are more or less just aliens, visitors, that are looked at as gods by ordinary mortals. I mean, think about it. In our own world, if we had some unknown being come to planet Earth with crazy abilities, we would probably worship them as a god as well. Most people would. But whoever they are, we know that Descenders can be harvested into Gnosis, and these are powerful artifacts that resonate with the elements, but I also think they do more than this. I think they're a key. I think they're a key to outside worlds. And this is a big problem for the Heavenly Principles, which is why she gave them to her most powerful lieutenants, if you will, because they all work for Celestia, and we know who's trying to gather them. This is a problem for her. And in most cases, the Sustainer doesn't really have to intervene personally. There's all sorts of ways to get the job done. You know, we even seen this in Sumeru with the Withering, Elazar, Forbidden Knowledge and Corruption. Her Archons can do the dirty work for her for the most part, but with Conria, it obviously looks like she had to get her hands dirty and went well out of her way to stop the travelers from leaving. And ironically enough, did not kill us. But one of the siblings was captured for 500 years while the other got to live out their journey. And for some alleged reason, even though we both look similar and have similar abilities in the opening cutscene, one of us isn't a Descender. Curious. Now, Conria, we know, wasn't just a nuisance. They were a threat. They took on all of Teyvat and almost won. They killed a couple Archons in the process. And the Sustainer obviously had to get her hands dirty to solve this problem. Because you have beings, who knows, from outside worlds and other universes, such as herself, and it was a problem, it was a threat. She was able to deal with it, but I think it cost her a lot of energy, and she was injured or corrupted in some form. That is why for 500 years we have not seen her. And it is even stated that, you know, no one has seen the Heavenly Principles for a little while. Even Nahida says that she was going to threaten to destroy the Gnosis when she was confronting Dodore and awaken the Principles, and that would totally thwart their plans, but then she admits that that was a bluff. And to be honest, there's perfect examples in the game that already relate to this exactly. It's been a long time since we've been in Mondstadt, but remember the whole storyline with Dvalin? How he got corrupted and how the Traveler was actually able to purify his teardrops and help out big time with this, and actually cure Dvalin of this corruption. Well, how was Dvalin corrupted? Well, Venti told us it was his fight with Durin. And guess who created Durin? Rheindaughtr, the Alchemist Gold, from Conria, who the Sustainer had to get her hands dirty with. And Rheindaughtr was specifically mentioned by Skirk, and was used as an example to help tell the Traveler in Paimon who her master is, so we can assume that Rheindaughtr not only took on Teyvat, but her, along with Conria, were able to kill a couple Archons in this process. So it's not a stretch to say that the Sustainer could have been injured during this conflict to quell them. Now, I believe, in a sense, like Dvalin was corrupted, maybe the Sustainer is experiencing the same thing, being that both Dvalin and the Sustainer had similar encounters, but the Sustainer's encounter would have been maybe on a bigger scale, so perhaps it's sort of like Dvalin. And we've seen corruption in many different forms in Genshin, like the Withering, like we talked about, Orobashi on Yashiori Island. His remains cause people to go mad and seep into the land. The decaying remains of a dead god can have bad effects as well. There's a lot of different forms that this takes, but I believe what we see with Dvalin kind of can tell a little bit of what the Sustainer might be feeling right now, which is why we haven't seen her, and she's not intervening with all this craziness going on. And this goes into my next possibility. Perhaps that's why she didn't kill the Traveler, and why she needs us. Perhaps being able to harvest a Gnosis from a Descender, and also the fact that the Traveler can purify this corruption like we've seen with Dvalin, maybe that's why she needs us. And this directly goes into my second part of the video, that she's actually allowing all of this to happen on purpose. So that's option number 1. She's resting and regaining her power, sort of like being in the Odin sleep. Option number 2 is that she's fully aware and allowing this to play out. Kind of like how Ganondorf in Ocarina of Time lets Link travel around, awaken all the sages so that he can eventually lure out Princess Zelda, who he wanted all along. So he kind of had to let Link just run around and run amok for a while in order to get what he wanted. So what does the Sustainer want if she's doing this? Well, I believe that she wants the Traveler to resonate with all the elements, and then she can collect the Gnosis from him. Harvest the same way she did with the third Descender, whoever that might be, because we know the Gnosis, the elemental powers, came from the third Descender, and the Sustainer used these. So, what's to say the fourth Descender can't do the same? We know that we can resonate with all the elements, so it makes sense. And perhaps she also gets to see who is loyal, what's all going on if she lets this play out. Kind of get a feel for everything before she makes her final verdict. So she's gonna have to do a massive overhaul of Teyvat when this is all said and done, because you got open rebellion left and right. Maybe she's just letting this play out to see where all the pieces fall before she makes her decision. Because if the Traveler wasn't important, why would she not just kill us right away? Maybe she meant to do the same thing with Lumine, but it didn't quite work out. And Lumine kind of went rogue, or something happened, and her memories were implanted into Irminsul through these outside sources. And maybe she needs these Gnosis harvested to help combat outside and external forces, like the Abyss, Skirk's Master, the Foul, and other entities that might try to breach the borders of Teyvat. But I kind of feel like the truth somewhere lies in the middle. Perhaps it's a bit of both. She's letting this play out, but is still very injured from her battle with Conria. And Conria was able to summon help from God knows where, outside of the world of Teyvat, the Abyss, and everywhere outside Celestia's control and gaze. They're all a threat, so she had to take matters into her own hands, but was gravely injured because what she's fighting isn't just mortals from Teyvat, but people like Skirk, her master, the Narwhal, and other ancient, abyssal, or other dimensional creatures. These pose a threat to her, because like I said, even though you're an unknown god, at the end of the day, a Descender is really only another being from another planet. They're not immortal, and it has been long speculated that the Heavenly Principles is the second Descender. So any other Descenders would pose a threat. But I don't think that she just wants to kill the Traveler. I think that she needs us for something. We serve a purpose. Whatever the case, she'll need to act soon, because things are going out of control from her own perspective. You got visions being given out by people whose positions were just granted without your knowledge. You got people in rebellion. Everything's going to shit, more or less. So she's eventually going to have to do something. And the biggest problem yet to come, which is what's going to be the next video's topic, the Harbingers and the Fatui. They are collecting these Gnosis pieces, and I believe it is to summon that external help that we talked about. Because it appears that summoning external forces like Rheindotter and Conria did can hurt the Heavenly Principles. And Piero, more than anyone, would know this. He was there. Now they're going to do it, but they're going to do it right this time. And they're going to also relinquish her control over the 7 Archons. And perhaps that's why the Fatui aren't being so cautious, because they know the Sustainer is injured and that she can't really act right now. So they're carrying out this plan knowing that she's not going to come down because she was hurt really badly. That is my theory. But overall, who can say exactly? Because we have little to no information on her ever since the opening cutscene. We get little snippets, but there has to be a reason that she's not intervening. I mean, Neuvillette just gave Farina a vision, and he's not authorized to do that. He's not even authorized to be in control of Fontaine at all. So that can't be for nothing. But stay tuned for my next video, as I'm going to go into depth on what the Fatui are doing specifically and how this pertains to the Sustainer of Heavenly Principles. But I do hope you guys enjoyed the video. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Do you think she's corrupted by the Abyss? Do you think she was injured badly even though she was able to defeat Conria? And do you think the Sustainer is worried about some external forces like Skirk and other beings from other universes or planets? Let me know. And as always, we will see you all in the next one. Later.